Completion handlers are crucial in building SwiftUI apps because they enable asynchronous operations such as network requests, animations, or background tasks to signal when they are finished. This ensures your app remains responsive and updates the UI only when the necessary data or processes are ready. In this video, you'll learn exactly how to implement and use completion handlers properly in SwiftUI, making your apps more efficient, user-friendly, and capable of handling complex workflows seamlessly. Only a few days left for my SwiftUI Christmas sale of 2024. Go ahead and check out the discounted link in the description. So today we are going to talk about completion handlers and basically how to use them and how to convert them into async, await, and throwing functions. So make sure to take a look at this video till the end because it will be a treat. Okay, so what I have done is just started this brand new Xcode project. I have added a button which when you are going to tap we are going to change the name and it says hello world. Let me just build and run so we can actually see that this is just going to say hello world right over there. Now I also have a button tapped function. There we go. If we tap on the button, currently it doesn't do anything, of course. And I have this really nice helper function. Basically, we are just delaying, mimicking some sort of a delay in our application. Let's say that could be a fetch from the server, like half a second or something like that. Currently, I'm just going to use 2 seconds so we can use this tutorial so we can actually see what's going on. But usually that's a split second, but still it is a delay. And let's just start off by doing an instant button tap. So this isn't completion just yet, but maybe you are just familiar with returning some sort of a string. So it could be something like this. So function instant, and we are going to return a string, not string, but string right over there. There we go. And let's just return Ada. And yeah, when we are going to tap on the button, I'm just going to add in instant, and then we are going to, as you can see, result of call to instant is unused. Then we are going to put that onto the name. So name equals instant. So let's build and run again. And then, of course, when we are going to tap on the button, it will just instantly change the word to the Ada name. This Christmas, take your SwiftUI skills to the next level. I'm bundling all my iOS developer products designed to help you build apps faster and smarter at an incredible 91% discount. And that's not all. I'm including SwiftUI Camp, my 4-week virtual bootcamp starting January the 6th, where you'll master SwiftUI and become an expert developer. Together, this bundle is worth $2,280, but it's yours for only $199. Don't miss out. Grab this exclusive deal. Link is in the description. So that's instant, but as you know, that's why you clicked on this YouTube video. We want to wait a little bit. So let's just create a new function, and that could be a function called delayed. Delayed, that's right. And then we are going to add a completion right over here. So what is actually a completion? Let's just type it out and then we are going to talk about it. So a completion, it will be an escaping completion and it will return a string. This is the syntax, an arrow, and then we are going to add a void right over here. So what this basically does is just going to say, okay, we need to return eventually, not instantly, but eventually some sort of a string. Therefore, we want to remove this part and add the closing parentheses for the starting it off. Okay, on the other hand, let's just remove this one. And that's it. Okay, the error went away. So how are we going to use this? Well, we are going to use the delay helper. So we are going to wait 2 seconds. So delay, and then seconds 2, and then inside the closure, basically this is also a completion as you can see, but let's just see how we are going to use that with the delayed one. Okay, and then we are going to say completion. This is the most important part. So completion, and it's just going to expect a string. So we are going to complete with a string of Ada. So now how are we going to use that on the button tab? I'm going to comment this out and I'm going to say delayed. And we are going to have a completion right over here. It is expecting a string eventually over time. And if I hit return, you will see that it auto-completes like this. And I'm going to say, let's just say value or whatever. It could be name, but that's a little bit complicated. Well, let's just use name. We're going to get back a name. And then we're going to say self.name. So we are referencing the state variable equals the name, what we have right over here. So now let's build and run. And let's see. There we go. If I tap on the button after 2 seconds, it will change it to Ada, as you can see. And basically that is completion handlers in a nutshell, but please stay tuned, stay till the end of this video, because now we are going to take a step further. So first of all, what happens if I don't have anything from the server, or what happens if I get an error? So first approach would be that if there is something wrong, then we are going to return a nil. So not basically a string, but a nil value. So what I'm going to do is just copy this out and paste it in there. And I'm going to rename this to delayed optional. And because what we are going to expect is an optional string. So now what we could do is just return also a nil. That will be just fine also. If there is a nil, let's just use that one. Of course, Ada, if you complete with Ada, that will be just fine. It's a string. It will do the same thing what the simple delayed function did. Now, let me just comment this out and add a new one. So delayed optional. And now, as you can see, it's asking, it's returning an optional string, so name, and we want to guard and let against it. So guard let name. Else, we're just going to simply return. We're not going to do anything. And if there is a name, again, self.name equals name. This is optional. I'm just going to add in here a print statement. So print no name, for example. But usually you just want to return. You don't want to handle this case at all on the view. So now when we are going to build and run, because we are returning nil, the no name will be printed out after 2 seconds. As you can see, no name in the console log. Okay, so that's optional, but that's still, you know, it's not going to handle everything. Therefore, what I'm suggesting is just adding also an error. So let's just do that. What I'm going to do, again, I'm going to copy this out and paste it in there. And let's rename this from delayed optional, delayed with error. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just maybe just have a tuple. So instead of having an optional string, I'm going to have a string tuple with an optional error. There we go. Because if there is an error, then we are going to use that. If there is no error, then most probably there, and it should be a string value. So now, instead of completion with a nil, you could just either pass along the error. I'm not going to do that. I don't have errors prepared for this tutorial, but you could do that. You're just going to pass along the error. And then, as you will see in just a second, we are going to unwrap that error if there is any. And you need to also pass along a string value, which could be an empty string, for example, if we have an error. Let's just go with an Ada and a nil error. This is our tuple. So Ada and nil. So that's great. Let's just comment this out and then use that one. So delayed with error. And now we are going to need a tuple. So right over here, I'm going to say a result, and then if a result dot one, that is the error, is not equals nil, then we are going to basically print out the error, and then we are going to return. Okay, so we handle the error if there is any error. And otherwise, we know that there should be basically a string value. So we are going to say self dot name, or we could just go with the name because it's not named name. So result of a 0. Okay, let's build and run. And because we set the error to be nil, we should get after 2 seconds, hello Ada. And just see that. There we go. Okay, but as you can see, it's kind of cumbersome. What is 1? What is 0? What happens if I get an error? I need to set up an empty string, which is cumbersome. And this is where the result type comes in. So let me just copy this out again and paste it in there. And we are going to name this delayed result. Okay, and instead of using a tuple, which is fine, we are going to have a result. So it's going to be typed out like this, so result, and have those into those 2 carets. So we are going to have a string type and then an optional, well, I believe it's not optional. There we go. It has to be some sort of an error because we have a success value on the result and a failure value. The success value is whatever type you set for the first, right over here, and the failure value will always be an error. So right now, when we are going to complete, so it says completion, open parentheses, you can have either a success value, so success, and we are going to type out Ada, or you could have a failure, so failure, and you're just going to have an NS error. You're just going to pass the error from your server along. Again, I don't have errors currently, so I'm just going to go with the success value of Ada. A much nicer, you don't have to work with these tuples, you don't know which one is which. So, and also, we are going to have the unwrapping of it. We're using the result much easier than we had previously with the tuple. So we are going to have a delayed result. It's going to give us back a result type. So let's name this also result. But now, instead of using the if statement and all of that for the error, we're just going to switch through the result. And as you can see, Xcode is really smart about this. It's just going to give us the suggestion. So let's hit that. We're going to either have a success value. In that case, it's the string value. So we're going to say self or just name. Name equals success. Or you could just rename this to name and then self.name. And then there is this failure. And in our case, I'm just going to print out the failure's localized description, which is the failure is an NS error. Okay, and as you can see, it's much nicer. So let's build and run again. Of course, it's just going to do the same thing. It's just going to return Ada after 2 seconds. Tap me, just tapped on it, and hello Ada is just going to be printed out. So that's the ultimate way of using completions. Now, there's an extra step that I want you to learn in this tutorial. Let's just call it a bonus for today, and that is how to use asynchronous throwing functions. Usually if you are working with other APIs or servers, you are going to get your values inside the completion. But as modern application, you want to have async await or maybe even throwing continuation. So we are going to create that for you. Let's say this delayed result is the thing that you are getting from your API. It is a completion. Okay, it is a good completion because it uses a result type, but nonetheless, it's not asynchronous. So what we're going to do is just create a delayed result that is actually asynchronous and throwing. So I'm going to copy the actual name out for the function. As you can see, it's the same name. And then I'm going to remove the completion altogether because we don't need the completion. So let's just remove that. And what I'm going to do is just make this asynchronous and throwing. We are going to asynchronously wait for the string value, and optionally we are going to throw an error. So that's why. So let's just add async and throws. There we go. And it's just going to also return of some sort of a string. Okay, so now we want to basically mold this delayed result with a completion function into this new one, with an asynchronous throwing one. So we have this with checked throwing continuation. If you are not going to throw any errors, then you can just have with checked continuation, but you know, we are, so we are going to use that. We are going to type out try because it's a throwing function, await because it's an asynchronous function, and then with throwing, with checked throwing continuation. And then we are going to have a continuation. Let's just type that out, continuation. There we go. And then right over here inside where we see the code placeholder, we are going to add our function. Now, this one. So delayed result with a completion. And we are going to get that result. There we go. And now comes kind of the magic part, how we are just going to move from the completion into asynchronous throwing functions. And it's kind of the opposite of a completion. We're going to say continuation dot resume. And there are three right over here, either returning, that would be a string value, or throwing, that would be an error. But because we have the result type, it's really nice. We are going to use this one, resume with the result. There we go. And basically that's it. That's how easy it is to just move a completion handler into asynchronous environments. So now let's just scroll up and let me just comment this out, because now we are inside an asynchronous environment, so the task, and it could throw. So we are going to have a do catch statement. Let me just add the catch. There we go. And I'm just going to print out the errors localized description. That's just fine. And then in just one single line of code, I'm going to say name equals try await, and then type out delayed result. As you can see, because we are already inside a task, it's just suggesting the asynchronous throwing function, which is great. And it is the same name as the completion one, but of course it does not have a completion. So let's just use this one. And I'm just giving it to the name property because it is returning a string value. If it is going to fail, it's just going to throw that error onto the do catch, into the catch part of our do catch statement. So tap me, of course, because we are returning Ada after 2 seconds, it's just going to not fail. It's just going to change the name property to Ada. And that's how simple it is to use completions and also mold it into a more modern asynchronous throwing function. Now, if you like this tutorial, most probably you are going to enjoy our Christmas sale. Go ahead and check out the discounted link in the description.